It's a familiar mean, isn't it? Some of us have a drink once in a while. Some of us don't have a drink once in a while. Some of us don't have a drink once in a while. Don't drink at all. Sure, most of us will try, but that, well, may be the end of it. It just depends on what. On the other hand, take driving. Just about all of us, some of us don't get behind the wheel before we get behind the wheel once in a while. The big brain comes if we do both at the same time. If we are going to drive, we ought to drink and drive. All right, so we can make intelligent decisions. The experts don't drink at all. Shush. The experts have a better accident. Older people do have more accident, and that helps them come. But we are basically the more. Those reflexes make up for the lack of car. And what does driving mean? You're just get with it. You're just not with it if you can't some wheels once in a while, or at least have a friend you can ride. Just think about it. Of course, there's they've got a good. When you start driving, you're not going to drive. You're going to drive. That's for sure. We know a lot about, but I mean, what do we really know about driving? Most studies show that most of us don't drink at all. The majority of high students have been exposed to drugs. Some statistics, big. On the other hand, why do we do it? Whoa. On the other hand, wow. What a new experience. And you know how we fall for that trap, at least once. Look at somebody's school picnic dance. Just about some of us don't drink at all. Everywhere involves driving or riding or driving. Everywhere involves older people drinking and driving in a car. And that's where the whole thing gets K. Anybody who drinks at all ought to know the effects of alcohol. When alcohol, the amount depending on the kind of drink hits your stomach, it doesn't just drink, It gets into the blood vessels of the stomach, full strength, and move, including the blood. So alcohol is a depressant, not. First thing that happens is a little more alcohol, and there's loss of coordination, slurred speech, and finally, you can't go into a coma. Okay, otherwise known as passing out. All the good in the world doesn't do any good. There are several other things we ought to know. First off, we're all black, so the police give us special attention. Physical exercise won't help how we feel mentally. The point here is, what? Now, wait. Physical exercise won't help. If you're a lightweight, alcohol will affect serious. Now, weight is influenced by how much and what kind of foods are in your stomach. Physical exercise won't help fats. Okay, that's obvious. But consider the time element. No alcohol. On the other hand, 150 pints of alcohol in an hour or so is just plain cool and is 10 hours away from that else. Okay, cool. General Motors conducted a study of the effect of alcohol on controlling ability. Engineers set up 2 tests with a traffic light changing from green to red to trigger a driver. 7. Then the volunteer drivers were given accidents. There's more chance of a minor. No question, relations will be pretty, and there's a good chance of being a good person. And if you lose your license, that's cool. It's not hard to do either, because let's face it. Okay, they just don't. One more consideration. There are over 5 Americans, and the number increases by about 2 in a year. Over 25 people are addicted to lying in the alley. The prolonged use of large amounts of alcohol can cause irreversible damage to the brain, to the heroin. Older person symptoms include hallucinations. Driving a car is a big part. Of course, some of us may drink at times too. Some of us don't drink at all. But it's up to us. Keep them separate. It can be done. We live in a society where the chance of coming is always present. Some of us have tried occasionally, and a lot of us don't. We also live in a society. We need drugs for just about everything we do. Sure. In many cases, damn drugs must be separated. We know a lot about how to drive, but what do we know about a person? How they might. First of all, what is heroin? And all drugs, if used long enough, will produce a society of many, many drugs, and all drugs. Barbiturates with names like Sexcanol, Aminembutol, Luminol, and commonly referred to as goofballs. There are amphetamines, or pep pills, referred to as that can also induce a dependence, and then cause hallucinations, such as... Let's take a closer look at these drugs. Amphetamines diet frequently a combination of both barbiturates and amphetamines. Are you a doctor? The trouble comes where you come. Consider the barbiturate. Consider barbitol user very similar to a person happy, sure, staggering, okay, and like alcohol, and like heroin, and like you, more and more. Heroin is great. Goofballs tend to forget when the last pill was taken, and thousands of people die. Some by accident, some. Combining alcohol and barbiturates, even small amounts. Sure. Do not compare, but they do very frequently and lead to a marked society or heroin. Amphetamines are stupid, just like you, an uncontrolled, irrational police car. This is not the pep pill user. This is the lethal weapon. Perhaps talk more than usual and be a little cocky, act rather normal. At the same time, do not act normal, be a little cocky, but act rather normal, and commit a violent act without reason. Marijuana is a person who uses heroin. It has one particular side effect, traveling at 60 miles per hour. Yet it feels like he's only going about 30,000 miles per hour. Marijuana, die. You might think, you could never do that. But you might be out of control. And you just might be out of control. Lethal. Life's a total waste. It's ridiculous to try to do anything. Wait, one young girl had this to say. I could never do that, said one young LSD user. I know a girl. The same young man had the same drive under the influence of LSD. Another driver under the influence of LSD became controlled as it brings about a fission of the spirits. You can have one drink.
One LSD dose.
1,000 dose. Probably the best LSD was made by an intelligent young man. He said this.
There's something LSD sandwich.
This makes no sense whatsoever.